We're live.
Yep. Sorry, the countdown, the thing went slower than I was expecting it, faster than I thought it was going to. Normally it takes a bit longer. And you're muted, Chris, if you're talking.
Damn it, you
Okay,
shouldn't have
cool.
told him. I want to
The,
see
the
how long it
countdown,
ran for.
the countdown was like 3, and then I just heard nothing. All right, so welcome to another episode of Roll for Story, still in the Claude Coast arc. Currently, the players are inside Terig's Tower and uncovering a few different mysteries, and sometimes they looked a bit too far beyond the veil of their realm. And Karis suddenly saw this vortex within the astral sea, sucking every single
Alright,
word
yeah,
he's
you
ever
can't
known
walk.
out of his mind. He did, however, start to get the idea of how to talk back by continuously reading a book. Um, this book was one on the the stone riddle that you kind of followed on. So you kind of guessed it was maybe something to do with the Earth plane of existence. And as you look through it, the index, as it happens, has different locations. One of them is the hidden fulcrum. Another is the seven-fold maze. And what else? What was the triggering thing that made you kind of realize this is something that there's
Um,
something that Kashan wanted
it
to?
was the description of like a sort of mineral layer where there were like diamonds and stuff, which made me think crystals. So, Crystal
That's right.
Cave.
Yep. It had literally a description of where the. That's right. You were looking up what you was interested in, which was where the plane of Earth overlaps the plane of water.
Yeah,
That's,
maybe an entrance in that way. Plane of Water would be somewhere that Gareth would want to go. He's probably the only member of the party, really, who would.
yeah.
Maybe.
There we go.
Maybe Llewellyn.
Here's right. He was looking up the Pale River,
Yeah.
and then after that, the Iron Crucible, which is where the plane of fire overlaps. And then you realize, well, I wonder if it overlaps with the Radiant plane, which it does, and becomes sort of mineral. Well, it doesn't overlap, but there is a radiant
Yeah.
mineral variant. And that's where you were starting to realize this description, a glittering cave full of crystal diamonds. This is exactly like what Kashan has been looking for. As you pulled Kashan over, he began to realize it matches up with exactly what the legend lore revealed from Irina.
Yeah.
So with that,
We had also. There was mystical unicorn in the astral sea that. And stuff. Yeah. That we're trying to
yep,
rescue or find out more about, I think.
yeah, for goodness sake, yeah, you went into the Astral Sea and you found this mesmerizing display of stars that seemed to shape into like a mane of hair. And as you kind of like floated back away, you realized this was a unicorn where their horn had been like shattered. Their, they were being like hooked by some sort of anchor attached to a large blade in the middle of the Astral Sea. There were these strange fingers disembodied and beckoning the people, well, party into some sort of dark portal. It was like an ebon colored floating disc, and you couldn't go on any further than that with your vision. It seems like it must be one of these colored mirror pools, which end up going to other planes of existence. But nonetheless, um,
We'd have to go there.
yeah, you would have to go into the astral sea, maybe even physically, because if you were to go through with like astral projection and try to go in through one of those, it wouldn't work because you can't astral project in a material plane, if that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of mostly everything
Yeah. And
that we covered.
we did a rough drawing to that from where the unicorn is.
hmm you also meet a strange individual. There was another wizard, supposedly. So it was hinted that he was perhaps just a bit more than a wizard. It was a small goblin with like a blood red tattoo on his forehead. And
And
he
a
seemed to
shrink
have like, hmm?
and a shrinking chair.
No shrinking.
Never get over that.
Sure. Anyway, let's jump back in. So, what would Kashan do now, knowing the crystal cave resides
Is that what you're asking him now?
in the plane of Earth? Question mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, whilst we're waiting on that, apologies for everyone for the slight camera mix-up there. I forgot there if I go on to another thing, it takes off the cameras and replaces them with the text I'm looking at, which is... and I was looking at the message that Cam sent. So... And then, for some reason, it only resetted Jamie's when I went back onto the main view. And I had to fix that quickly, but it's fun. Technical
Good job you were
difficulties.
looking at D&D walkthroughs.
Oh yes, I have a complete walkthrough for Chris's campaign that he's made up. It was actually written by Wizards of the Coast. It's for the next book.
Yeah, we've learned Chris steals everything from them.
Oh, what? They steal from me.
He's in their R&D department.
They're watching right now, going, yeah, let's do a wizard tower next. Oh wait, probably kind of did that. Anyway,
I mean, they've got the Blackstaff Tower in Waterdeep, I suppose. That's
yeah, but
close.
I'm saying, Candlekeep Mysteries, they kind of release.
Yeah. Anyway, back on
They
topic.
try to release early. Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, back to the present.
Yeah, what do you guys want to do? I know you kind of left off with Kachan. You coming to the realization that in order to get to the Crystal Cave, you need to get to the plane of Earth. But the entrance appears on the material plane across a ley line in the desert. So you know what? I'm just going to jump into Khan's shoes. I don't see why he would hold this information back from Carius, seeing as Carius is the one right now trying to help him find it. So Ishan turns to Carius and says that these locations in the book were mentioned by Irina's legend lore. The Sevenfold Maze, the Hidden Fulcrum. Both of these are part of a riddle that was given to Irina.
Karis considers this for a moment, just like tries to make gestures with his hand as if, should we go get her?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so where is Irina? Still in the observatory?
Yeah, so Irina, Llewellyn, and Andy are all still in the observatory,
Okay.
attempting to set the telescope to the day she went with Malone to see the Sultan, so she can try and see if she can peer in on what the discussion was she has with the Sultan.
Alrighty. Okay, yeah, let's go back there.
Yeah.
I believe we're attempting, because I'm not sure the telescope can see through walls.
Yeah, that's why I'm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, they were stood outside when they had this conversation.
They were
Oh.
not.
They were definitely not. Okay, so
Worth a try.
Irina, you can begin to set the date. You already do know the date of which occurred.
It would be in my journal.
Mm-hmm. As you kind of begin to twist the dials, set the date, and zoom back out. You also have to switch it back to the material plane, but easy enough. to do now that you kind of figured out what does what. And all that's left is someone to begin to look through.
I will do that. Oh, is that wise though? Because I was there. Is that going to be really
Are we
tricky?
going to get into wibbly tiny moments?
Well, I'm specifically looking for Malone. I'm not looking for myself. Because I wasn't allowed in the room, which is why I'm doing this. So it might be better if someone else looks.
I mean, either of us are really good at looking.
So one of you two sit in the chair.
I'd say Andy's more close to this than Llewellyn.
To be fair, Andy might see Smolder as well if
Exactly.
she does it. So
Yeah.
Is there an extra cushion? I might need a little boost in the chair.
I take off my coat, pull it up, and it might not be the comfiest thing because it's got things in all the pockets, but
yeah, okay, she'll sit in the chair and she'll look through.
Okay. Thankfully, the wire tubing can actually be brought down, and you can sit at a comfortable height, no matter how high you are. You kind of like look through the eyepiece. The mirrored interior seems to send your vision like an optic cable all the way to the telescope, and you begin to see the hot sun beaming down upon the desert of the Claude coast, and you, without too much trouble, locate the actual city of Guidia, and kind of gesturing towards Irina to kind of like zoom in, begin to focus in all the way towards the tallest tower, where. Have a look. A minute. Oh yeah, here we go. Yes, Kabiri Tower is of course the magnificent plaza built on top of the mall, effectively, and on top of that is where the actual palace effectively resides. As you're trying to zoom in, though, you can zoom in onto like a window potentially, but the actual inner palace itself is obviously heavily guarded and behind many walls. And as you're trying to zoom in, you start to realize there are limitations to this. It's not like an all-seeing eye that can go anywhere and pass through anything. There is a wall dividing you and this potential conversation.
Okay, then I want to see how well Andy can lip read.
I need to find a window first.
Yeah, exactly. If she can find a
You still need
window-
to be able to see the conversation being held,
exactly.
and
If she can find a window where she can see in and see them talking, then she will attempt to lip read.
okay. Roll a perception check for me up first, because there is only one angle of this. You don't get to like rotate around the actual castle itself. It's highly doubtful that this telescope is perfectly lined up to see straight through a window straight into the palace where yeah. Well, 31, I'll tell you what, you can see through a window and you definitely see that there is what looks to be an elf with a green cloak on. There is a fiery looking elemental, Genasi, looking exactly like Smolder.
Auntie
And this is there she is. And finally you see Irina and her tutor, the Magus, Malone. And you see that they are having a conversation. Malone is telling Irina to wait here with the others. And you see Malone being escorted with a bunch of guards into a room a large double ornate doors with beautiful like decoration of swirling sands and kind of like wavy mirage like heat. And as they pushed open, you see there's like a reflection of gold from the inside, and the doors are then shut behind. As you, all you can really see from this window is the party kind of waiting for Malone's return.
Those wondering, I just want to point out that Malone literally looks like Yzma wearing those robes.
Yeah, those robes, they're quite baggy, although they're a good fit for Llewellyn. Yeah, they more like drag
She's
across the
literally
floor.
like this skeletal
She's a
old
walking
elf
skeleton.
lady.
Yeah, she is. She's not faring well with the heat either. You can imagine. Um, but she was sent here um, by the King's Mage, to kind of be the representative of the Mage Towers and Midra for the Clawed Coast. Anyway, she does go in, and unfortunately, you can't see directly into this palace because, as the saying continues, no one sees the Sultan. So having a window into there would be a kind of it'd almost be too easy. You can see the door in which Malone has gone through. You can't see the actual conversation being had though.
However, you do get to see the trio of shenanigans happening while they wait.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Is there a
Have it-
knob on there to revert the time?
Yeah, there is there is a dial that's like a clock.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it would be worth Llewellyn actually knowing what Malone looks like in case any party member comes across her at some point. Especially if I suddenly get attacked by someone.
You can do minor illusion, right?
Yeah, I
They
can.
could do that.
Pop it there.
I know what Malone looks like.
Like there's
she saw her
sketches.
once
There's
as a
sketches
kid.
in my journal.
Yeah.
So
Whatever's best, just so I know what Malone looks like if, you know, she does come back to her anchor point and
She looks scary beyond all reason.
like she's literally like a walking skeleton.
good
That's
job
what I
I'm
mean.
used
Scary
to
beyond all reason.
good job I'm used to skeletons.
Carius
Smoking,
waves as he
smoking.
walks back in.
Okay, I'm gonna say that this is the point in which the party do come back, or the other group.
Well, it was worth trying.
Harrius, I didn't see you there.
Carius tilts his head and then sort of makes gesture as if what was worth trying. I don't know how you'd make that gesture, but just like, what I miss.
Yeah, he seems to be looking around, confused.
We tried to spy on the Sultan. It didn't work.
Carius sort looks as if like, why? This is awkward as hell. I don't know how.
Well, like Irina knows you well enough to probably
Yeah.
figure it out. To be fair.
Or you can have a look at the eyepiece.
Yep, Carius will have a
Like-
look.
You know, Malone went to talk to the Sultan before we went to the capital, so she might have told him what he was going to do.
You kind of grab it, twist it round, have a look for yourself, and yeah, you just see these doors being closed, and you see like there is actually Irina sort of standing there, maybe looking a bit prouty, having not got the chance to go in and see the Sultan.
Probably kicked
Um,
Kicks them.
Out of
God's story, man.
curiosity, when Irina met Carius previously, would Carius have met Malone then?
No, because she travelled to the Clawed Coast by herself. To
Ah,
meet
fair enough.
Malone, so
Yeah.
no.
Would
Ca-
it be an interesting thought if Harrius could see his father's interaction with Tilrog?
Possibly.
He knows where.
But Carius looks at the door and then looks at Irina confused as if, what's the problem?
I mean, There's a door in the way.
Carius just sort of points at like your eyes.
Yeah, I was there, but what do you want me to do about it?
Know about that. I don't think. Do we know about Irina's?
I am sure we have seen her use it at points. So Carius like asked for a bit of paper.
I didn't have that back then. Yeah. Oh my god, you're a genius.
and
I
they
shove him aside.
yeah, there's also one other option which Carius will try to indicate. He'll sort of point at Andy and then sort of make a gesture as if of a shirt. Because if you maybe put that on the telescope.
I don't know how that would work. That's a bit.
Yeah, I think that might be stretching it a little bit.
But no, yeah, no, like I literally pushed Carius out of the way. I'm like, oh god.
So I'll go.
I'm having an inception moment where I can see myself looking through a door that I'm trying to look. It's weird, but I'm gonna try it.
Okay. So,
Oh wait, do I have
in order to
enough
do
ones?
this, describe again how this works visually.
Okay. So as I concentrate, basically, Candlewick kind of comes up. And obviously you have to concentrate on a certain spot. So I have to literally focus on the doors through the telescope, which is weird.
Right.
But Candlewick almost comes over like a mask, but obviously makes eye slots. So it's not like when she does her legend lore, it doesn't completely cover her face. It gives her sort of like eye slots, so it almost narrows her focus to a fine point.
So blinkers, like on a horse.
Okay.
I guess, yeah.
I always imagined it like it comes up like Harry Potter glass.
So yeah, and that little eye slots are right in front of your face, and as you bring the eyepiece towards that, it begins to kind of blur and focus in, just like my camera.
Yeah,
And
I was gonna say,
then
just like your camera.
You're starting to see like a magical effect extend into the fiber optic cable all the way into the telescope, and because your vision is being pulled and extended to this point, you're effectively seeing from that point, and so you will gain 30 feet of X-ray vision almost. The two guards either side of the door don't see any kind of magical effect being played on here. You'd imagine if you was to try and do this in the past, the guards would have tried to stop you and done something. But you having a sneaky peek through the window into the double doors, start to peer through the golden doors and filigree dissipate and become transparent, and you start to follow. Oh well, let me just drag you on. Yeah, sure. I'll go over here for the time being.
I don't have any token of vision on this scene, so
No,
the
no.
audience is seeing
I
a
mean-
black screen.
Yeah.
Do we need a token on that?
Well,
Yeah.
in order to be able to see anything for the audience.
Okay.
There we go.
Goodness. All right, so Irina, you can. Let's do this. Oh yeah. Okay. So from this angle, you can see that Irina is heading towards past these dual pillared chamber, the tiled flooring. There's a beautiful kind of golden like carpet, and as you're moving your way up in like a vision through here, you try to like zoom in closer and closer. You see there is some exotic potted plants, a comfy sofa where you're being offered a seat right now, Irina. And as you sit down, you see there is another figure that just has sat down and has their back to you.
Don't you
There are
mean
two
to?
bees in this room?
Don't you mean to Malone?
Oh yeah, sorry, not Malone. Yeah, what the hell? It's two
Confused, I was
people,
like-
right? Malone. It's Malone and the Sultan. I don't have
Okay.
tokens for them, so I was just using your token provision.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. It's just like.
Yeah.
How many Irenas
Cool.
are there? That's like 4 now.
Yeah, no. Sorry, yeah, I meant Malone. The two basically just sit themselves down and they begin a conversation. Now, you can see Malone's lips from this angle. Can't see the Sultan. The Sultan, you do see, is probably just a head of flaming hair sat down. That's all you can really see from this angle.
Okay.
They're clearly regally dressed in the finest Guardian silks.
Is
But,
it like anything around that has like a reflection? Like a
there is a
vase
large
or something shiny?
ceramic-looking but there's not much of a reflection from it.
Do you need me to like speed up the time until he turns around or something?
No. I need to hear this conversation.
Oh,
Or, see this conversation.
see, yeah.
You do see it, and it's at this point you would need someone who was able to lip read it, and I think no one in the party has that feat, do they?
No, that's it's not observant. It's perceptive, isn't it? Is it perceptive?
Is it?
Observant feat.
Is it observant that has
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I don't think I have it.
I thought.
you have-
Yeah, I think you took perceptive.
I did.
Yes. So, you can, I guess, at best try to infer the sort of way the conversation went in terms of like body language and such.
Yeah, you could make an insight check.
Sort of the fire. Does that look like more like fire than like when we've seen regular fire genasi, or does it look like it could just be like fire genasi?
Well, Irina would need to roll an Arcana check as well.
Arcana.
Yeah, to see if the fire seems extraordinary or if they are just
So if it seems like normal fire or if it looks like smolder.
something more.
Yeah.
That's a 24, but the insight
It
is
is-
8.
It is definitely a fire genasti's kind of styled care of like a flaming kind of head of hair. It doesn't look like it's extraordinary, and they kind of match the same sort of dimensions and size of a fire genasi. They're clearly just a medium-sized creature. Doesn't seem like extra fierce or an odd coloration to it. It is just a kind of orangey yellow flame head of hair. And I would say with an 8, you can tell that a lot of the conversation is Malone sort of listening and nodding for like the second half of the conversation. That is, the first half you can see Malone is doing a lot of explanation, and with an 8 you can tell that she's probably doing the same hand motions that she did when she first described the situation to you about the shattered city. You can see her sort of like expanding her hands out as if, and then sort of making this domed-like shape with her hands. And in fact, to the point where she probably does make illusions of the shattered city itself. And after a great explanation of things, it seems like she's awaiting the Sultan's reply. And the Sultan begins to kind of flicker their own hands into the air. It seems the Sultan is capable of spellcasting. as they make a an illusion of the shattered city and of his own kind of mages by the looks. There does seem to be a set of fire genasi who seem to be on the outskirts of it, and they seem to be investigating it, perhaps. Um, and then you see them head into the Shattered City. So you can tell that the Sultan has already sent people in there, but
Okay. The obviously Irina left before the city shattered. So obviously that has happened in some time, obviously with her leaving and arriving in the Ford Coast.
yes.
How did they find out before Malone did?
Well, you already know that answer because you spoke to the Vizier. The Vizier mentioned that the Midra did many trading. They had many trade like industries between them between the Claw Coast and Midra. And when an entire city suddenly ceases to exist, the whole world's going to know about it due to trading just stopping, communication halting. The whole world knows about Midra and the Shattered City.
Basically, Malone knew the city had already shattered, but failed to tell us until we saw it.
Well, she perhaps like scried on its location, but she
Well, no,
wanted
because
to
we didn't know the city had shattered until we arrived there.
Oh yeah.
So she obviously knew before we did, but didn't tell us.
Right.
Where are our secrets?
Sneaky.
Regardless, it seems like the Sultan sort of shrugs, and there's a concerned look on Malone's face for a while. And after like a much deliberation, it seems the Sultan points towards Malone, and Malone kind of like nods. You can't see what they're saying, but you can imagine they are definitely talking throughout this pointing. And Malone kind of stands up, takes like a deep bow, and there's a few more words exchanged, but it just seemed like the conversation is coming to a close here. And I think at this point, Malone is given a document of some sort. You can actually see it from this angle as well. It seems to be a report, and it is kind of similar reports. You know what? Make a perception check real quick. So you have to kind of really zoom in on this spot, just if you're trying to see the writing itself.
You,
Okay, can't see the words on it, but you can tell that it's perhaps the same sort of layout in styled report of the one that you saw the Vizier on his desks, detailing what they know already about it. But it's handed to Malone, and looks at it, nods, and then rolls it back up, stows it away in her pack, and then begins to leave.
And like, I'm gonna watch her. Does she do anything else on her way out, or does she just leave?
No, she has no reason to, by the looks. I guess her gaze does go over towards something in the room though. She kind of like turns to one side just briefly, and it's to that ornate looking urn that I mentioned before, which kind of has sort of a mystical, magical quality to it. No wonder like Malone has her eyes on it, but kind of a kind of like a long. Um, it looks more like a pitcher, but not like one which like a jug with a handle or anything. But it looks like it's a vessel for drinking from,
Like
rather than an urn
flora.
for like flowers or anything like that. Um, yeah, it looks like a vessel to hold a liquid, but it's kind of like there's no glasses around the room for it to be poured into unless someone drank straight from it. But there's clearly something Malone like is attracted to as they look towards it. It definitely looks extraordinary in the way that it kind of has this sheen to it that the when the light hits it, it seems to kind of give off a magical quality. And both you and Malone are trained to sort of identify magical items even at just a glance. And so she can tell that there is something extraordinary about it. And her gaze lingers on it until it's uncomfortable enough for her neck to be craning that far as she leaves.
Is there anything unique about it that I might recognize?
You can roll me an Arcana check.
14.
Hmm. Okay, there are different decorative bands down the urn that seem to signify something. One of them has uh, arcane runes on it, and then the next is followed by like more artist kind of in rendition of those. So they kind of look more like little flames, but of the same kind of rune. And then that flame gets more and more like artistic towards the bottom. So it's kind of got the both elements of academic arcane runes and artistry. Definitely a flame quality to it, though, more than anything. But it looks as though those bands could potentially be like rotated. But you'll take a note of the runes, and I'll give you the runes as well. The 14, they are conjuration runes.
That's not what I think it is. I have ideas what that is out of character now.
So something to do with fire and something to do with conjuration is what you get with the 14. But you have no idea what it is. You don't like immediately go, "Oh, that's a bottle of blah blah blah."
Yeah.
You don't. You not a real clue. It may be because it's more unique than just sort of common magical items you've seen in the past. So that's potential. Or because it's so legendary, you would have to figure it out through some sort of spell. But you're seeing Malone come right up to the camera as you're seeing like their wrinkly face. And you're like, hello. You can like almost see right up to their nostrils. They're coming towards your vision.
I've seen in a prisoner group with this finish. How long has that been there?
Exactly. Basically that. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's as much as you can really ordain from this.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of like follow Malone out, kind of bring my vision back out of the room, and just spend a minute looking at my obviously my prior companion. Just yeah.
Yeah, you
before I
look
sort
over
of-
Zeno, Smolder, the ones lost to the Shattered City. The ones you still have to go back and find. And maybe save.
Mm. Yeah. After that, I'll sort of take away piece by piece.
More
All right.
deep.
Yeah. Carius is going to try to use essentially shape water to basically indicate to Irina that there's a book that he thinks she should look at, because they wouldn't have brought the book out of the library, or Carius wouldn't have, because who knows what will happen if it goes through the portal. So
Yeah, and Kashan would probably bring this up as well.
Yeah.
Carius
Maybe
now entirely
that-
talks
that-
in water.
Set the
Seems fair.
telescope to its original setting, and then I'll.
What did the Sultan look like?
I didn't really get to see much. Well, you know, like no one really sees them.
Did you, like, at least get to see what kind of race, or was he hooded, or?
He had his back to me, I guess. I was kind of more focused on Malone.
That's But can you hear through this thing?
Can I hear through it? No, it's a telescope.
Oh.
I don't know what kind of telescopes you've been looking through, but
It's a
you
magical telescope. I don't know exactly what it
can't-
does.
It enhances light so you can see more. It doesn't improve your hearing.
Yeah, I only looked into space, and there's no sound in space, so
Yeah, it's light.
good to know.
Um,
Must tell Terrig to upgrade this.
yeah, that'd be useful.
It would very much be useful.
It'd be useful. I'm gonna change the dial settings back to and then back to the library.
Kashan goes over and spins them all.
No, but I will say that Kashan says that Carius found a book and it has the same things you mentioned in the riddle, Irina. They're to do with the
cave.
They are to do with the
Alright,
earth elemental plane.
Okay. We'll take a look at it. Head back to the
Okay.
library.
Yeah, you can head back to the library and have a read of it. So do you remember the riddle that I sent you?
I did save it, I think, but
Something about
Yeah.
the sevenfold maze opens when the hidden fulcrum closes, or something.
I wrote it in one of my notebooks, but I don't remember which notebook. Okay, you paste it into here.
You know, this is a real relief for my voice. I don't have to do like Carius's voice at all, because I can't talk as Carius.
No,
You know, for a mute character, you seem to be talking a lot, James.
I'm making Carius is explaining things by shaping water into words.
The stone mill grinds to a halt only when the sevenfold maze aligns. As one cave opens, the hidden fulcrum closes. And there is no mention of the stone mill, but there are two which are capitalized in that. The sevenfold maze and the hidden fulcrum are indeed places within the elemental plane of Earth. Do you want to look those up in the book?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Which one do you want to look at first?
I'm gonna do this in reverse. I'm gonna look for the fulcrum first.
Okay. The hidden fulcrum is a secret chamber within the sevenfold maze. It is hidden by all kinds of magic, illusion and conjuration magic, and it's said that many notable Dao do not even know where it's located. Not even the leaders of the elemental plane itself know where it's located. Any visitor to the hidden fulcrum plane would have to overcome all these illusions, trials, and perhaps even false entryways. But it is said that it used to be an audience chamber for the Khan of the Tao, and that his name was Cabril Ali Al Sara Al Zalazil, and just you kind of having sort of flashbacks to when you met the Afriti and how long his name was. It seems the Tao are no slackers either with their long, drawn out titles. Though there isn't much information on him, it is said that he isn't the ruling Tao anymore. That he has been sort of superseded by other Tao now. However, it didn't prevent him from keeping the hidden fulcrum hidden. And instead, when he was dethroned effectively, he still managed to hide away his stash of treasures. And Tao are massive treasure hoarders. They are obviously in the elemental plane of Earth. They have countless mining operations, all just for the sole purpose of digging out precious gems from the crust itself. But apparently this hidden fulcrum is theorized to be now sort of turned into his vault of hidden treasures.
Okay. I don't want to find more information on this guy in particular.
Okay, roll an investigation check. Because he's not listed under this section.
Oh, that's really low for me. That's 14.
And it looks as though the book itself isn't on the denizens of the plane itself, but rather the plane. It's got its locations, its properties, what a material denizen would need to do in order to survive there. It doesn't have information on political parties and the history of each individual. So you kind of come up short. There's brief mentions of him again throughout the book, just describing that he was a ruler, he was a powerful Tao, that he had a shrewd mind for schemes and businesses of all sorts.
Tao are like elemental dwarfs or something, right?
No, they are genies. They are the complete earth elemental representation of like. So you got genies, which are air, Afriti, fire. Married.
Notes and remembered I can't write anything.
Oh. Married are water genies, and finally Tao are earth genies. But it's often cited that he didn't leave his palace much often. It doesn't really give you much information other
Put
than
up
that.
my middle finger, I would.
But I will say legends described him power-wise like akin to that of the gods. Like he was that powerful of a genie.
Yeah.
But he was bested. He was finally bested by something. Someone.
But it doesn't say who.
It's difficult to pinpoint that. You can...
It was clearly little.
Who knows? It doesn't mention that. Not with a 14. You don't
That's
find
fine.
who
I
bested him.
obviously I can't physically write it down, but I am going to make a note of that guy's name.
Okay, sure. I'll copy and paste it into the chat for you.
Thank you.
But that's, not much information on him in this book, and at least not what you can find with a 14. Which leaves the Sevenfold Maze as your only other thing to look at. Okay, this has got a lot of information on it, because unlike the Hidden Fulcrum, which is already it's still hidden. There's not many people have gone to it or seen it. The Sevenfold Maze is something that a lot of people have tried to traverse, and Sevenfold Maze is the center of all major Dao activity, and it resides within the Great Dismal Delve on the plane of Earth. It is so vast that no one has ever fully mapped it out. It is so enormous of a labyrinth that there are entire trading centers within it, including palaces that house other many great khans of the Dao within the maze itself. There is tunnels, passageways, chambers, and only the noble Dao were immune to the confusion caused by the winding passages. Even Minotaur slaves were not immune to the bizarre properties of its network, and could easily become lost if they weren't careful. There were elemental vortices and other portals existing throughout the maze that also connected to other elemental planes. So you can imagine like mini crossovers. There's two major ones for the elemental plane of Earth, which I've already mentioned. The Pale River to water and the Iron Crucible to fire, but there's like mini little pockets that kind of open into planes within the maze itself. And it's split into 7 regions. Each one has its own kind of trial, so to speak, and this trial description is also mentioned again and again in Lodorvu's scroll, how he had to overcome them through different means, both physical and mental. The first region was the easiest, and it's also the most populated, also known as the free market, because it had literally trading posts for all kinds of materials, and they often traded with outsiders here as well, which means that you can actually physically breathe in this area. Unlike most of the other places in the elemental plane of Earth, it's actually hospitable. However, though there were stacks of glowing gems sitting atop great pillars, the theft of a single common gem was punishable by death, since everything within the Sevenfold Mazework was considered property of the Great Khan. Every gem within the maze was marked with a special sigil indicating as such, and a detect magic spell would reveal such a sigil. So, stealing, bad. Also, very hard to get away with it. That's to the that kind of speaks to the extent of how greedy the Dao really are, that they would mark every single gem. The second region is blocked by massive stones that have to be moved in specific patterns in order to pass. There's muscular slaves that were posted at each of these stones, ready to move them for their masters. And I won't go into all details, I'll just go kind of brief on each region. The third region is a pair of identical halls, polished with a mirror finish with metals. The mirrors reflected the many balconies and tunnels lining the halls, creating a mesmerizing effect. And each passage and balcony here was identical to all the others, meaning that the inhabitants needed to specifically memorize their routes or become hopelessly lost. Fourth region was a reverse maze, meaning that the end could only be found by walking through its walls and not down the passages. And one wrong decision would lead back to the beginning of the maze. The fifth region is a glass-walled maze. Effectively, you can't even see the maze, and this is very akin to what you've been through as players before. Do you remember when you went into Darrock Castle and there was an invisible maze? It's literally like that. And the sixth region, Earth gods were rumored to have constructed, and is a shifting walls and floors create a puzzle that can easily confuse visitors. It was so mesmerizing that if you were not blindfolded and not a noble Dao, that you ran the risk of permanent madness or even petrification from viewing the shifting puzzle pieces. And then finally, the seventh region. tiny passageways, less than a single foot in diameter, dominated the seventh region. Only small creatures, or Dao themselves in their gaseous form, could traverse them. Another rumor was that the Great Khan's palace was actually just a tiny miniature version of everything, and that his servants were actually shrunk down to like the size of mice and rats, and that the hidden fulcrum was so hidden because it was like this big, like a tiny little shrunken version chamber. But yeah, who knows? That was just a rumor. But that's everything on the sevenfold maze. And
Okay, so what was
in the go on.
What was the riddle again?
The riddle goes as such. It says the stone mill grinds to a halt only when the sevenfold maze aligns. As one cave opens, the hidden fulcrum closes. Yeah.
Hmm. While you guys are trying to think of this, I'm gonna throw Carius a bone here, and I'm gonna say you get to call on me twice for this, as I'm going to be casting Rary's telepathic bond. So you can communicate twice a day. That's all you're getting. I'm not gonna be doing this every hour.
That's pretty helpful.
Yep. So, does that book help?
Back.
It gives a lot of information. I mean, I need to sit down and actually think about it.
Well, I think, though I might be wrong, that it might be the next step on the riddle path that Mox was looking at as well. Because the one before was like, remove 2 letters and you're left with 1. What am I, sort of thing. And my
Right,
thoughts
maybe
were
let's-
stone or bone.
Maybe let's not tell Max this part.
Oh, yeah. He can work
So
out
what-
himself.
Yes.
I wanna get as
think
far ahead of
Sean
him as
needs
possible.
A bit more than he does.
Yeah.
What if it isn't stone? What if it's money?
What's not?
I mean, it could be money, but I don't know what. Like, I was thinking. I mean, it could be scone. But I was.
Culinary book. That makes
But,
sense.
but I was basically going through and being like, okay, so the last one what led to Stygia. So what does. So I thought maybe another plane of existence, and I couldn't think of one for bones. So I'm like, stone, elemental plane of earth. It made sense.
It does. And then there's this riddle about what? A maze?
Well, they've not told us that. Yep.
Never mind, I didn't say that because I don't know it.
Yep. So it's like, so what's next?
Figure out what this actually means first.
That's a good idea.
So
What means? I thought
explain-
you had the book.
Are you all in the library, I'm guessing now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna explain, making sure that Max isn't anywhere.
No, he doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. Doesn't mean he isn't. So I'm gonna literally have a quick nose around, gather everybody.
It could be one of you.
Nah, we're not doing that.
But what if it is me?
Though, Parsonator is in the chat, so the whole it being one of us and then being like a traitor would fit them.
Oh my god. Hi, Andrew. So, go on then. What do we want to do?
Yeah, I want to obviously make sure that the area is secure. And obviously, if we've got Rary's telepathic bond going,
Yep.
I'm gonna use that
Use that.
rather
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
rather than speak it out loud. So we're all gonna sit like we're in a meditation circle. So he kind of thinks, oh my god, these people are weird. I'm gonna stay away from them, and I'm gonna telepathically explain the riddle and obviously what's in this book.
Even think of that. That's very useful. Yeah.
Right, so something about a stone mill. Then once something opens, the hidden fulcrum closes.
Once the maze opens, or one of the mazes is opened, the hidden fulcrum closes. But it says one cave opens. So maybe there's a particular part of the maze that once it opens, the fulcrum will close. And then you've got to proceed through the maze to open it.
Possibly. What if the one cave is the crystal cave? So when the entrance from the material plane opens, the entrance to the hidden fulcrum closes like a defense mechanism almost. If it's like a
Well, yeah, I imagine
area.
that's then the challenge that Ladorvu had to go through to get to this.
And then you've got to wait for the entrance behind you to close before the fulcrum entrance is open.
Or maybe by opening the hidden fulcrum manually, then that closes the entrance behind you.
And what's the fulcrum again? Do we know what that is?
The fulcrum is essentially the what's his name?
It's not.
Gabriel Ali Al Sara Al Azalazil. It's his treasury, his hold, where he kept everything.
Oh.
His hoard.
So Ladorvu went looking for a hoard?
No, I think he went more to challenge himself from the seams of things. It seems, higher.
Yeah.
Higher learning or whatever it is.
Does
it's not higher learning. What am I thinking of?
Does challenge? Enlightenment?
Enlightenment? Something like that.
In the reading about the plane of Earth, does it mention anything about, like... Obviously, it mentions, like, the maze and it's invisible and stuff, so that's a challenge in itself. But does it mention anything about, like... Because obviously the plane of fire, you have to deal with intense heat, but...
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything...
So there's a section on the properties of the elemental plane of Earth itself, yes.
Yeah, so what are those like?
Okay. It is one of the most dangerous planes, if not the most dangerous, because of the complete lack of air. So those without ways to breathe without breathing are going to struggle. It is also dangerous because these endless corridors and maze-like labyrinths are almost impossible to traverse. And lastly, because you run the risk of being crushed alive or trapped within the tunnels. Earthquakes, landslides, shifting patterns within the earth as if plates themselves are moving and changing location constantly. It is a navigational nightmare for the plane, for the denizens of the material plane.
Yeah. So it certainly like if the Temple of the Sun and Moon was a sort of spiritual or linguistic awakening, this almost seems like it would be a maybe
physical,
not quite physical. It's almost being able to survive when you normally wouldn't be able to survive. Like, I mean, I'm sure we've all heard tales of some ancient monk who lived only on a dewdrop for 100 years because he somehow absorbed the energies of the universe.
Are we talking like resilience here then?
Sort of, but I'm thinking more like perhaps there's a way through this path that Kashan's on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kashan. I don't know much about it, where maybe you can learn how to exist without the need to eat or breathe, maybe, and then you'd be able to survive in that sort of environment.
Eat, maybe, yes. I've heard of monks being able to reach that, but breathe. He shakes his head. Everyone needs to breathe.
The only other thing I could think of is obviously if you could, I don't know if it'd be possible, but if you could achieve like an astral form and then somehow get to the plane of Earth, because then you wouldn't need to breathe that way, but that I don't know if it's possible to do that. I would assume astral selves exist in the astral sea and nowhere else, but
I will have to consult the scrolls. I know that the Dorvu made this journey, and in order to do so, he would have had to overcome these challenges and trials.
I
I
mean,
believe I remember him.
Ladorvu wasn't human, right? He was
He was, well,
some form of genasi or something, wasn't he?
indeed, from what we learned in the library of the Temple of Sun and Moon, when he came there, he was described as being somewhere between a fire genasi and a water genasi, or ice, maybe. Apparently, he looked red and blue in areas.
Evaporation, did I say?
well, based on what I've learnt about trying to go between the like transfer energy, I believe there's a steam plane that exists between them. So he could be a steam
Either way,
genasi.
he would have had an edge that John doesn't currently have.
My necklace that I have, would I know if that would be useful in a sense of breathing in a place where there is a lack of oxygen?
Yes, it will. It won't let you to breathe nothing, but apparently there are other. As much as there are no air, sorry, read English properly. As much as there was a lack of air, you could equally find unbreathable gases as present as as there would no be air. Oh, there's a hard sentence.
So, like breathing in carbon dioxide as normal air, sort of thing.
It would
So-
definitely help filter out toxins, poisonous air, unbreathable, subterranean gases.
So maybe this next step, like you suggested, Carius, is for Kashan to learn how to do what this necklace does, but using his key or his
Yeah. It
bodily
also.
entity.
I mean, that necklace is of adaptation, so perhaps this whole challenge is about being able the ability to adapt and react. It seems like this place is constantly changing. So if it's constantly changing, you have to be able to adapt to any situation.
Right. Also, we need to not forget that we need to go to the. I had it earlier today, and now I can't think of the word. The auriculum.
The dimensional horologium.
That's it. I was gonna say auriculum calculus.
Yeah.
Horologium.
I really can't think of that word when I need to.
Yeah. Does the word horologium mean anything to any of us, like, in character-wise? Clearly not Llewellyn, because he can't even pronounce the word.
Jamie cannot pronounce the words.
Like out of game, I know what it means.
Yeah, same. Or I have a rough idea, anyway. Purely because of fairy tale.
You can roll just a straight intelligence check.
Yeah, I'll do that. Straight intelligence.
No.
Yeah.
What'd you
Seven's good,
get?
right?
Nope.
6.
13. The only thing you can maybe derive from it
How'd say it?
is that it has the origin of its name. It's somewhat derived of the clock in your own language, in common.
Yeah.
But it's obviously a very old language. Whatever that he's speaking, or whatever he's named it after, it's perhaps like an ancient language that not many people speak these days. But you definitely know it has something to do with a clock.
I really
That's
got
as much as you can get with a 13.
with a 13.
Kashan, Obviously the symbol of your monastery is the frozen flame, right? Was that something that Ladorvu brought back and introduced? Or was that like the symbol beforehand?
Sorry, who are you asking?
Kashan.
Oh, and what was the question?
Basically,
Sorry,
obviously their symbol is the frozen flame. That's a big important symbol, and it seems to be in relation to the scrolls that you need the frozen flame to translate them properly. But before Ladorvu went on this journey, was he a monk of the frozen flame, or was it when he came back he established that name?
No, he'd always been a monk of this monastery, but he began a pilgrimage, and when he came back, he kind of brought a name to it effectively. But let me just think. Yeah, his teachings became so widely known that the monastery built their identity around those teachings.
Yeah. So he'd sort of gone on that path, and then by him coming back, he established that path for everyone, sort of thing, in a way.
Yeah. Before then, it wouldn't have even been called a monastery. It might have just been a orphanage of such.
Yeah.
Like that's the best description of it I can give, because Ludovic was an orphan, and he was taken in, brought up. They had monk-like teachings, but they were like an orphanage first, a monastery second.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the main point of the question is obviously he went on this pilgrimage and he was always a monk, but was the frozen flame his symbol before he went on the pilgrimage or after?
After.
Because Karis is sort of I've got an idea. So obviously the frozen flame's the symbol, but it's obviously something that should be moving, alive, doing stuff, but isn't. So is it possible that maybe for this task you have to become like the frozen flame, so still like almost freeze a state of yourself, if that makes sense, in order to survive in these locations?
Sean thinks for a moment and says, "Well, the last of Lodovus's days was spent in meditation, completely still. We were not to disturb him, and he was not even brought food or water. He had long since been able to live without it, so no one was concerned about him starving to death in there. But he spent many years in meditation, continuous meditation. And they would only get longer stretches of time. With each meditation, he would spend from days to months, and then eventually years he would spend in there,
What
in
was
his own
the
meditational chamber."
what was the title of the latest scroll that you have? Like,
He brings it out, and it is
Guess.
Perfect Self.
And
Seems a bit arrogant, but okay.
is that just out, and I'm gonna, is that out of character, the monk thing they get at level 20?
The capstone of level
Yeah.
20 monk.
Yeah.
Before that was Empty Body, and then before that was Timeless Body.
Carius considers this, and I'm actually, you know what, because this obviously seems a bit beyond Carius, I'm just gonna roll an no, Carius isn't smart enough to come up with this thing. I'm mostly, but it's like, I mean, you say empty body, so what if he was sitting there but he wasn't there, if that makes sense? Like his body was empty, like that astral stuff that Andy does.
he doesn't
Yes.
do us.
Well,
But
they
I
go
believe this was,
or we were reading about what it, either way, involves traveling.
I believe he may have mastered such a power, but I don't think he had it here. This is when he was young, on his own pilgrimage, when he was learning these things, it's not until he came back and meditated on this is when he truly came to that revelation, or at least perhaps he learnt these things along the way. But he points to the scroll and says, "This one was known as the Diamond Soul. This is where he learned to hone his body to or hone his soul rather, to overcome any challenge.
Yeah.
Anything that was put before him, he was able to adapt to it, whether it be mind, body, anything. He was able to adapt and overcome."
Which makes sense why the next step is the plane of Earth, then, because it sounds like you're going to need that.
I mean, looking through the 7 things that they have laid out, like the challenges, each one of us has a way around each of those. There is maybe potential that each of us could help Kashan with each of those pinpoints to help him learn how to get through each stage.
Kashan's tail begins wagging.
It's certainly a possibility, but I suppose before that, the most important bit is knowing how to get there.
True.
And whilst we know that the cave opens when the fulcrum closes, and we don't know when that will be or how that happens.
The only thing left is how to find the entrance, how to begin this trial.
Right, so we need to figure out what the stone mill is. Because that's where it all begins, right? Because that needs to do
Last
its
time
thing
you
for it to align, right?
He says, last time you theorized that it was the moon?
It's the giant stone that circles the world. Right? So it's technically like a mill. It grinds to a halt.
And the last thing is, when you're in your legend lore spell, you saw a ring around the world itself. It was like a ley line that encircled like the top hemisphere. So we'll call it like the equator, right? It looks
So we
like
know
that
it's
in your
somewhere
mind.
along that ley line. It always appears along that ley line. But I'm wondering if, obviously, the stone mill grinds to a halt. I wonder if that's like the new moon, when the moon is not actually visible, which means it's stopped.
Certainly possible. Are there any times when... No, that doesn't make sense. I was going to say when the moon is like hidden behind something else, but that doesn't happen. Apart from when it's behind the planet that you're on, which is basically what you just said. So,
Did we know that at some point the cave entrance had been on in the Cloud Coast?
I would have explained that, obviously, when we
yeah. And we know it,
everything.
and then Llewellyn's obviously said that it appeared somewhere in Midra. So we can obviously, and based on that, we can probably work out where those points are.
Yeah, if we're currently in the Cloud Coast, have we tried maybe looking for it? Like from up there?
The difficulty, of course, is from inside, we don't know what time it is outside, but I suppose if we can work out where... So,
when it last appeared?
yeah, just as a reminder, Llewellyn, did you know where the Crystal Cave appeared in Midra, or is it more just stories you've heard?
Well, he does.
It was...
You know, it was next to the Silver Pine Forest, to the east of it.
Yeah.
So, if...
somewhere between Veldrador.
The thing is, it's marked on a map, and people know where it should be. But every time people have gone back to it,
not there.
nothing's there.
Yeah.
Except for that one rare occasion.
If it's appeared in the Clawed Coast, and we can work out where that line is, so we obviously know it's there, and then we follow that line across the Clawed Coast, we'll know the sort of area where it's meant to appear. And then if we then use the telescope to look forward enough to when it's the next new moon, or the next full moon, perhaps. Both could be possibilities. Then...
Wouldn't that be trippy, though? We're looking exactly where it is, and we're spinning the time dial, and we're just seeing, like, it go night, day, night, day, night, day, night, day, night, day, until it appears.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened earlier.
Yeah.
Someone had a little bit of a...
Yeah, I'm not looking through the telescope again. I want to eventually learn the ability to talk again. I worry what I'll lose next.
You tell.
That would be bad. That's what I used to cast to spell magic and counterspell.
Alrighty. Well, I think there's a good time to go for a little break. I need to get drink. And, yeah, we will be right back.
All right.
Whilst these pieces try to fit together and they try to figure out a picture to this puzzle.
Also, Llewellyn keeps looking at this wall next to us, because he's been over here before, but he's not been over here yet, where we are.
And there's a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It doesn't quite add up.
Right, we shall be right back, everyone.
Yep, enough for you.
One. Here we go.
And welcome back. All right. So, just having read up on the Sevenfold Maze and all of its different trials, Kishan has been listening excitedly about the suggestion that Irina made that every one of you guys has something that could help overcome one of these challenges. And sounds like he kind of speaks up and says, well, I know we just finished with the Stratus Archipelago not too long ago, but if you guys were willing to help me, sounds like there's a lot of treasure in it for you. This
There is.
vault
Yeah.
filled with diamonds.
Honestly, the challenge also sounds pretty good to me. I mean,
Yeah, that does sound quite interesting. Would it not be wrong to take from from a place that's in one of your scrolls?
I mean, it does say that they were pretty greedy and they do mark all their things, so it's
yeah.
legal.
So
But like personally, I just want to know if Kashan has the capability to be able to pull off some of the things that we can do.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind he doesn't generally magic, could
mean,
be
I-
very interesting.
I mean, I could give you my necklace and just send you on your way.
well, that sort of helps for the breathing problem,
Yeah, that's
but
like one challenge out of 7.
if it's on about like testing or training or anything like that, we should probably go up to the conjuration chamber, because that's quite protected against like magic and stuff. So we shouldn't break anything.
Yeah, except this room seems a bit off to me.
Yeah.
Like like the wall around the other side and the wall around this side don't seem to meet. They're not the same wall, or they don't look like they are.
Well,
Storage room? I don't know.
if I
I
was
mean, there's a staircase here, right?
Yeah, I
well,
mean-
that stairs up the shelf, up to the top of the shelves.
Yeah, like if I can find like a gap in like the bookshelf, I'm gonna sort of like knock on the wall.
But I kind of get the idea that, because I was thinking this before, that this
There is.
entrance to the middle here, what if this wall rotates?
So spin the statue. Make him
Yeah,
face the other way.
that was kind of what I was just about to say. Is the statue spinnable?
Yeah, because if it rotates, then it could be an entrance to whatever this room is.
I'll try to like fiddle around and rotate. It doesn't seem the statue itself rotates. You can all roll an investigation check if you're very curious about this.
Though,
Really curious about this. This
What-
was one of the things that got me in the hut.
My brain is like, what's he reading? What's his book? I'm like, could hold the answer. Maybe that's the book you're looking for.
Investigation check.
Well, that's a good point. I was just thinking, what if rather than stone, as in plane of earth, what if its stone is in the statue?
The statue is reading a book. I'm sorry, but
Okay, Lavelle, there does indeed seem to be sticking out like a sore thumb this wooden platform raised above the stone one. And with there being one gap into this little inner library, if this was to rotate, it could definitely open up the passageway. Irina, what did you get? 18? Knocking around, you do feel like there is more of a hollow wall. It's very hard to pick out because it is still a stone wall. But you can definitely hear there is definitely a chamber on the other side. It's not solid. There is a hollowness to it.
bad I've already used my eyes today.
Well, could you
Can you use it again?
It's a once per day feature.
could you use the shirt?
Yeah, I could. Andy?
Andy,
Andy?
Hello,
we need your weird shirt.
please.
Please.
I'm glad we
Yeah.
phrased it like that, because if we just said we need your shirt, that might come across weird.
Oh, she knew what you guys meant.
Harry, yes.
It's Carius. Who's surprised?
Yeah, she'll use the shirt.
Okay. Irina kind of points out where the hollow section was, and as you place the shirt onto the wall, you begin to see the wood slightly disappear. Then you start to see the brick wall beginning to sort of
I did inhale.
wobble and become a material. And it feels like you're seeing through the threads of cotton. You know, when you like hold up a shirt up against yourself and you can just about
Yeah.
see through it. It starts to be like that through the threads. You begin to picture the other side of the room. And you start to see another tiled floor. There is a ring of runes surrounding a pedestal. On that pedestal there is an easel, I think. An easel with a book sitting on top.
Lectern, possibly.
A lectern, yes, thank you. And right there, you see potentially what is the forgotten hidden lore within this chamber.
Going to point out that that square is still black.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't for me if I click on Andy's token.
Yeah, click on Andy's token.
Where is Andy's
Oh.
token?
Ah, there we go.
Through the wall.
Alright, we got it, we got it.
Yeah. It looks like the book's chained down, like with like magic chains, because they look like
Yep.
pink and glowy.
There is an additional magical lock by the looks. You can see even the entire room itself is lined with magical runes, denoting this is probably protected by some sort of abjuration, and that even if you forced your way in here, you might still need some sort of either keyword or magical dispelling effect to make sure that you can get to the information.
So,
Hmm.
would it be worth trying to follow this back using the shirt to whatever activates it, if there is such a thing?
Well, I suppose maybe the runes might hint at it, but my guess, and you know what? Because I don't think we've come across this as a thing yet. So I'm going to see if Karis has ever experienced anything with this. Yay, nat 20. If I was to take a guess, because obviously if, for example, we were in the ethereal or something, we could effectively walk through walls. My guess is that what those runes are is probably walls of force. So without the right word or sufficient magical power, you're not going to be able to just break them.
I mean, I could try and dispel it if we could get this room turned
Yeah.
around.
I'm climbing on the statue's
Roll
back,
an
and
Arcana
I want to read the book that he's reading.
Yeah.
I want to see if that has any writing.
Yeah. I'm going to
I'm
roll
just
an
gonna
Arcana
piggyback
check
the
as well.
statue.
Though, to be honest, my roll
Okay.
will be the same. Actually, that's pretty good for Karis. So I'm with an 18. Do I know about the specific properties of a wall of force?
Yes,
Yeah.
you know that it can't be dispelled.
Yeah, wall of force, unfortunately, you can't use dispel magic on it. I think it might be able to be destroyed by more powerful spells, but dispel magic isn't going to touch it.
So are we talking like a fireball, or are we talking like a disintegrate?
More like a disintegrate, I think. It's a pretty powerful spell.
So we learn how to turn the room around, and then tomorrow we can get our way through.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not an expert on how disintegrate works, but my guess would be you're probably going to hit the first wall and that will stop there, and then you'll have to cast it again to break the second one, because I'm guessing that circle of runes is a second wall of force or something similar.
Well,
But that's assuming I'm right that it's a wall of force. It could be anything.
only one way to find out.
Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
what does that book say, Irene, or anything exciting?
Irina, looking at the book, it says within this librum of arcana, lies hidden lore. It is secreted away, protected by magic, only by overcoming the riddles hidden here within these books will you attain such knowledge. But until that riddle is solved, you cannot enter this room. And that last line is separated from the rest of like the text. So you got like two blocks, and then the last one is in a larger font and like emboldened effectively, and it just says you cannot enter this room.
This is going to be like based on its positioning on the page. If I was to look at like the main text and then look at like where this room is that where is the list room basically in the same direction as where this hidden room is?
No.
Ah,
Yeah, I think you're asking like
So, like, if the major of the
look at
text is
that
like
number.
where Carius is as the token, then is where
Yeah.
it says this room, is it like here? If that makes
So-
sense.
No. It's nothing to do positionally wise about
Yeah.
that room. What you
So-
get from that, I'll tell you what, you can run an investigation check. Anyone who's reading that, especially
Yeah.
Irina, because you're like literally up against it.
Sure.
I'm not going to give you the answer, but Carius, you take that last sentence and it being separate from the text and in bold to mean that this is the first riddle. This is how you begin it.
Oh.
You cannot enter this
So-
room.
That line there, you cannot enter this room. You take that to mean yes, that is the first riddle.
So is Max some point through this, and we've worked our way to the elemental book?
Well,
You've
we-
already skipped that book, effectively.
yeah, essentially from what we understand is
picking up
he's
from
got
Moxon.
he's gone through these riddles and he's got to the point with the Stygia book, and then that Stygia book is then given a riddle that I think pointed at the plane of Earth, but might be pointing at something else that I'm not thinking of.
It might be because at the moment the riddle in that book leads to a place rather than another book, from what I can tell.
Well, the riddle that Irina said is something she got from her legend lore, not from inside the book.
So what's
Yeah,
the
but that riddle was something completely different. That's not what I got from this.
Yeah,
This is in
we
Kashan's
haven't.
scrolls.
So
So is
far from the studies that at least Carius has done, we haven't found a riddle in this book.
Can we look for a riddle inside?
In the Earth Elemental book?
Yeah,
You've not read the whole thing.
no.
Can we look for a riddle then?
Okay, so you can, if you want to roll an investigation check. So I will say that Mox has said that he's been here for weeks and weeks solving this.
Yeah.
It's taken him a very long time.
I'm going to point
Yeah.
out my investigation check on the box that you passed.
31.
Yep, that was to figure out that this line here, you cannot enter this room, is the first riddle.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Should we work on the next book then, or?
yeah, I mean, if you want to work on the next book, Carius is more just going to try to think on this first riddle because he's found it and doesn't want to let it beat him.
Wow.
Okay.
Irina, do you want to help, or have you got other things to be?
Help? Can help.
Do you want to take lead, or shall I take lead?
There's a way.
Should we roll separate?
Well, it's investigation and Irina has a plus 12.
Yeah, I'll help you then. I'll let you
Okay.
take lead.
Okay.
Because
Well, I obviously can read all languages as well, so.
it's probably because my perception of looking at stuff is in two different directions, so my investigation isn't quite as good.
Okay, so I'm doing the base reading, essentially reading it kind of like out loud, and then you're
Trying to
having
find the
input.
riddle, yeah.
Yeah.
Cannot
Okay.
get to this room.
Go ahead, roll another investigation check.
With
New
me.
one.
Is that
With
with
advantage.
advantage?
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
25. Okay.
Double 13.
So, in the Elemental Plane of Earth book, you've read quite a big portion of it already, and it's not until you get through the notable locations, the description, not until you finally get down to the cosmology section, is when you finally find a passage that, again, seems to be separate from the others, oldened in font, and reads as such. What falls but never breaks, and what breaks never falls.
Paul's never.
Oh, I know the answer to that straight away.
Yeah, you probably do. It's not a particularly tough one.
Yeah, the answer to that is day and night. Because nightfall, daybreak.
I
Yep.
knew that. Totally.
And it does seem to be underneath the cosmology section where it is talking about the cycle of days and nights in the actual cosmology. Like for the Earth plane, there is none because there is no light at all in the Earth elemental plane. In fact, most sections are completely submerged in darkness, and even those with dark vision have trouble seeing in there.
You know what? I'm calling it. I'm calling it here, right? So Irene and Llewellyn's really trying to work this out, and Carius, when Carius isn't busy talking, he actually thinks better.
Yep.
He just walks past and says that.
Yeah, Garrett's just on.
Basically, like, in
Mentally.
his brain, he's really intelligent, but what comes out of his mouth is just like word
Yep.
vomit.
Yep. Pretty much. Garrett just sort of looks over and goes, "Oh, it's that. So day and night." Now, don't know what that relates to book-wise, but, you know, seems to be the obvious answer. I mean...
So, should we be looking for, like, cycles of the sun and moon? Or are we looking for the temple of the sun and moon? In terms of a book?
I mean, we know where that is. That would be really quite funny if that was the next book.
So far, the answers to the riddles have been, like...
Places.
Right?
Most of them.
Actually, you know what? Just as a thing, Karis, now that he sent this, like the first riddle is this room, he's going to go quickly look at the stack of books that Mox has and look at the one on the bottom. Because that should be the answer to the first riddle in theory.
Yeah, you want to look at the first one he solved. Is that
Yeah.
what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. It is a book on the Underdark races, specifically Myconids.
Ah, you cannot enter this room, mushroom. Ah, that's fantastic. I was going completely a different train of thought. I was like, is it a book on a library? Is it a book on a jail or like a locked room? And then it's just like, but that makes so much more sense and fits the humor.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Karish just goes, honestly, as obvious as some of the others have been, that one stumped me a little. Well done. Like, Karish is just like, then pause and goes, so I've managed to solve the riddles later, but the first one would have stumped me. Huh.
And Mox, having the knowledge that every kind of room is a riddle, he kind of saw that and was like, this is probably the first of the riddle. So
Okay,
every
so
room
we
is a
now
puzzle.
need to split up and look for anything that's kind of sun, like day and night cycle related.
Day and night.
Maybe an object, maybe a book.
Could be something to do with time. Day and night. But specifically daybreak and nightfall. Is there a book on the Morning Lord and the Night Mother?
That would be gods and divine beings, deities, yeah.
Because
And there is a book on Lathander, the Morning Lord.
Because that would work for daybreak, I suppose, or dawn and dusk. It's the only book on Baba Yaga's henchman.
Not that you know, but maybe I could look for it.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, at least some of that has to have been discussed.
That would make sense though, because Terrig would have met them.
Or has Terrig met them yet?
Oh wait, no, he wouldn't have. Possibly.
Yeah. Time.
Wow, this time stuff is confusing.
But if it's daybreak, nightfall, Hit specific point. I'm going to look at the Book of the Morning Lord, and I'm just going to read through that and see if there's anything.
Sure. You pick it up, and you begin reading. And like I say, a lot of time is going to elapse here, reading and trying to figure out this riddle. Eventually, after some time, you hear the portal at the base of the stairs open up, and we just coming up. You hear the footsteps, and you hear the voice call out, say, it's Orish, and he gets to the top, and he's like, oh, you're all up here. Where is Mox?
Max isn't here right now.
Right. Okay.
However, you could be the guy that helps us.
No, I've got to help a new visitor as it happens.
A new visitor?
Wait. Huh.
Yes, hide. Hide.
Yeah, Karis is just
No.
like, who's the new visitor? What do they look like?
Oh. Well, they're just behind me. As you hear the portals vroom, again, another.
Karis.
I take off my jacket and throw it over.
Yeah, Karis is gonna be like, quickly hide.
around in behind the bookshelf, and as you see the blue-skinned tiefling get to the top of the stairs, they are looking around. They look very suntanned and like exhausted, weather beaten, and they have a big satchel on their back containing all the fulgurite. They wipe away their sweat and they're like, at least this place has stairs. So you said I could see Tarek? He was the one who instructed me to bring all of this junk with me. And Orish says, yes, Tarek is clearly a bit busy right now, but there are other good teachers here. He starts trying to look around. Is anyone else busy?
Just a second, Chris, just pausing. It was never... Erikos never said who taught him, right?
No!
You are not teaching your dad.
No, but
No!
what? No, but what if that is it? What if that's the reason he couldn't tell me? Because I was the one who taught him, and so to do so would break time.
This is all getting so confusing with the timey-wimey.
I'm just going to continue looking for the books.
Yeah, Carrius being completely invisible at this point because Llewellyn has cast invisibility on him. Can't speak.
Oh, yeah.
You step up for just a moment. You got to talk, and you see Erikos, and he is somewhere like 20 or 30 years younger than what he was. He's he's like almost as old as you are, right? How old is Eric?
Carrius is like in his 25, something like that.
Okay, yeah, he looks even younger than you do.
Yeah.
Do you wanna speak to
He's
him?
not got the white shock of hair. He's got
No.
like just the same color hair.
Actually,
you do.
Carrius is 21, thinking about it. Yeah.
Do you
Okay,
want,
so in that case, he's just about the same age as you are.
Yeah.
do you want to speak to him?
At this point, it seems like the fates have declared otherwise, so no, I'm just invisible at the moment, and Karis is just like... Karis is just sort of thinking this out loud to the others. It's just like, I mean, is that possible? Is it like that I have to train him? And that's why he couldn't
Makes
tell me?
Sense. You've suddenly started making headway. I mean, if your dad cracks it, then you will too.
Yeah,
He
that's...
doesn't have to know that you're not 100% sure. If he figures it out, then he's technically teaching you the last bit too.
Yeah.
That's true.
Do you think he would recognize you?
I mean, Karis thinks for a moment and is just like... pauses and is just like...
What if we disguise you?
Does anyone have a disguise kit?
We've used one many times. We should be able to.
But
Andy does have one.
Andy does.
it would explain an awful lot about your dad and his behavior,
Yeah.
especially towards you.
Yeah. Because if he found out, he would probably hate the fact that you were the one that taught him.
Well, not even that. I imagine that's why he was always so hard on you.
Exactly.
Because it would push me in this direction to this point.
Fatherly love.
Oh,
That's why he don't like me either.
and
Only
then
I knew what that was like.
and then Karis just pauses and then goes, "That would explain why he got so particularly pissed at the broken horn, because he knew that it was that point when
Oh, the gods predicted your arrival.
yeah. Darius is just like, you know what, Llewellyn, do it. Cast the spell. Oh, I'm going to stay invisible for this, but... No, I can't. Or can I?
Ericos, I need you to trust me right now. I'm going to cast a spell.
How do you know my name?
Again,
I know more than that.
we've been here a while, and we've been awaiting your arrival, as has Terrig. But we're going to have you speak to someone who would be quite useful to you. However, for the moment, he must stay anonymous. And then I'm gonna go about doing the Rary's telepathic bond again.
Since this is all very strange behavior, but sure, it's important. What I need to do is important.
Yes,
Whatever it takes.
I believe so. That's why most of us come here. And do the Rary's telepathic bond, so Carius can speak to Ericos.
I'm going to roll performance and basically use this for how Karis describes hides his mental voice, which isn't very well. It's just like, right, hello there. You don't need to know my name. Not important. What is important is you're on the first step. That Fulgurite you have with you, you called it junk when you came up the stairs. You're wrong. You're very wrong. You need to learn to appreciate things for more than what they appear to be.
I'm enjoying this already. I just sit cross-legged on the floor just watch.
Are you Terry?
No, but I'm someone who recently learned to do what you're trying to learn from Terrig.
Sure. Go on then.
So,
what do I have to do with this stuff?
right.
He starts pulling out Fulgurite after Fulgurite.
Do you know what that is?
Not in the library.
Actually, yes. Follow me to Llewellyn. Lead him to the not Llewellyn. I wouldn't call him Llewellyn. Levi, take him to the training room.
Levi.
Why don't?
Because then it wouldn't make sense for him to be introduced to you later if he knew your name now. So Karis is trying to keep as much information about us hidden, even though he's physically seen you. But whatever.
I don't like that.
But that is now your nickname to Karis. Right, so
Aaronwood would have worked.
Yeah, but
Professor Aaronwood would have worked.
nope, you're Levi now.
You don't have any credentials.
Yeah. Right. So, welcome to, for want of a better word, the training room, conjuration room, etc. Now, first of all, do you know what Fulgurite is?
Yeah, I had to go near a dragon's lair to retrieve this stuff.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, is the same thing I'm trying to stop from destroying my home.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how many are you having to deal with? Like 1, 200?
One young, insolent, particular dragon.
Ah, fair enough. So,
yeah, he's a pompous one.
yeah.
I struck a deal They should have held their word. This one refused.
Yeah, he's a bit of a dick, from what I
Don't
understand.
trust that one.
How do you know these? You know this?
We have been observing things for a long time in order to be sure that you are worthy of learning these techniques.
Yeah.
Duh.
This is some.
Right. So
Can you
You
convince
were
the dragon?
chosen.
I was told to pay in gold
Yep.
for my family's safety. Sort of. These dragons got like a racketeering job going on here.
they're pretty bad at
Like
that.
Gold Coast Mafia.
They really are. Some of them aren't too bad, from what I understand, but others, most of them are pretty bad.
Wait,
but-
do we know how long did you say that Erikos is? Like 20 years younger.
He's
Yeah.
about 20, yeah.
So this would be before they started to form into what they were when we met them. This would be like just an odd one or two because they wouldn't be able to congregate like they did yet.
Well, they probably could. Dragons have an exceedingly long lifetime, and one or two probably wouldn't be a threat to the entire
Yeah,
Clawed Coast.
But from what we learned, it wasn't till the gold dragons disappeared that they were able to congregate in large amounts.
Or as large amounts, but they're still
Yeah.
potentially... Right,
Yeah.
so...
This is when Erikos was trying to start up his business and his family here. So he was kind of moving into the land. He was kind of like buying the land off the dragons almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says, sure, there's a couple of late payments, but they knew I was good for the money. I was going to get it to them eventually.
Well,
And
that's...
then this
As you said...
Kilrock shows up.
Yeah. He's a bit of a... Yeah. Honestly, if you clip his wings, he'll go back, I'm sure. He seems the type. He's a bully, and the only way to really deal with bullies, if an authority figure won't deal with it, is to basically show them that you're not one to be messed with.
But
I
never
agree.
kill. Never kill.
No.
Just show them up.
And
I
that...
still need
And,
to be able to defend my home, my family.
yes.
Yes.
And that is what you are here to learn. You are here to learn lightning beyond lightning, correct?
He nods. I'm ready. And he
Right.
undoes the satchel, places out the fulgurite on the
Now,
ground, picks up one.
obviously, as a spellcaster, you're aware of the need for an arcane focus and things like that. And
course.
you're aware of attunement items.
Yes.
The first step is to attune to some of that fulgurite so that you can sort of feel the lightning trapped within it.
I begin. And yeah, over the course of an hour, he attunes to it and you
And
begin
then-
teaching him the first
Yeah.
steps.
And as he finishes attuning, I'm going to do this in this way. As he finishes attuning, that will be when the invisibility fades, because invisibility lasts an hour, and Karis is going to be like, now that you have passed the first step, I suppose I can reveal my appearance.
Whoa. He looks at you and goes, he looks at you very, like, peculiar. Like, you look just like me. Are you playing tricks?
No,
You do resemble each other quite
yeah,
clearly.
yeah.
The horns are bent in a different angle. The skin complexion and the hair are very similar.
Karis is just like, I mean, personally, I think I look much more attractive, but I suppose there is a similarity.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that someone in here is able to replicate someone's appearance.
He
But
looks kind of like closer towards you and goes, "You've got my wife's eyes." What?
Karis is just like,
That's
But-
a weird pickup line.
yeah, it's just like, Karis is like, well, what, I can't replicate you perfectly, of course, but quoting a friend of mine, what better way to learn how to do this and to teach you than to walk a mile in your shoes?
Did I say that?
No, that was, So
Okay, sure.
there
I'm
are
very confused.
there are 3 steps to this process.
You know what? I'm actually kind of relieved. I'm not learning from an old crusty guy. This feels like you're part of the family almost.
Well, I'm sure if you're willing to go against blue dragons, it must be a very worthy family indeed.
And trust us, we talk twice as fast as.
Yeah,
as
honestly,
At least.
you wouldn't have even been told to attune by now with Terrig. He's talks very slowly. Very
All right,
informative,
let's
but
stop then.
so the next
We don't have
step.
to go through all of this again, but
Yeah.
for the sake of privacy, you basically teach him the exact same steps that he taught
Yeah.
you, and then it's so strange that you're the whole time doing this. You're just basically teaching him what you already know, so that he can pass it on. It's so
Yeah.
peculiar. Like the whole time your mind is boggled, but you remain focused and on task, and you make a very good teacher also because
Yeah.
you understand his plight. You understand exactly what he needs to be able to achieve, and you don't have to worry about giving him like all these other tangents and riddles and stuff. You get right to the point and give him the most effective advice and
Yeah.
training that he needs.
So, interesting thing. And I messaged this specifically to carriers. Do we need to take him to the other room to teach him the next step?
That is a very good point.
Do we want to do that?
Well, he'll
Yeah,
have to go through that step himself. It's an important step, and it's kind of the key to at least the initial step. But
I could probably replicate what Terrig did. Possibly.
I mean, possibly. But if I go up there and
You
he's
don't have
up
the
there,
oh,
then
what?
we're potentially going to break time again.
yeah.
So probably not a good idea for me to go up there. But yeah, Karis is going to say, now obviously I've passed these teachings on to you in a fast method because I know the urgency of your mission. But
Yes, the general will return in any second.
and from our observances, we have determined that you are worthy to learn these teachings, but not everyone is worthy to have this passed on to them. So should you wish to pass this on to someone in the future, perhaps an offspring or something, make sure they're ready to learn it, worthy to learn it.
Yeah, this is dangerous stuff. You like
Yes.
cast a lightning bolt into the brazier and sparks of electricity generate from it.
Yeah, and Karis, because I still haven't got to use this today, and I don't think I'm going to need to, and I've run out my best spells to use it with, is going to, as a way of sort of showing perhaps one of the next steps, is going to do a lightning bolt with destructive wrath into the middle, just for like a full power show of, like a sort of demonstration of this is how powerful it can be. And now imagine if you had absorbed a dragon's lightning, channeled that through yourselves like this, and then empowered it with the divine glory of Ryla.
So,
His eyes are wide, his mouth is agape. He's just like, yes, this is what I need to defend my family here. This, and you're saying I can achieve this?
Yes. I am
how,
100% certain you are able to achieve this.
That fills him with confidence and determination. And
how hardy does he look? Like,
hardy.
Does it look like Erikos in his prime would be able to take a few hits?
Yeah, for sure.
And I assume that myself and Carius would have discussed what Carius learnt because I was in the same chamber as him.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Well, we know that he can do lightning. What if you get him to strike you with lightning and you can show him how your new thing works?
Unfortunately, with the stage that I'm at, it has to be lightning from a creature. It can't be a spell that I can turn back yet. I haven't gained that part yet. I can absorb, say, a dragon's lightning breath and throw that back at them. But
Well,
I
I thought
can't. I haven't fully mastered it yet.
I
I
thought
think
the
he does look a little bit worn out from the first teachings and lessons. He's spent quite a lot of thought.
Yeah.
No worries.
There,
How,
there. Karis will say there is a step beyond the step that you have learned, but to be able to throw back a dragon's breath at itself is probably as much as you will need to know initially.
All right. I'll need time to rest
Yes.
between these exercises. This is arduous work and training.
Yes.
Okay. So he does need to sit down and take a break for a while. But he says, but my mind is still concerned about the safety of my family. Tarek said that there was a place I could see them from here in case I needed to get back in an emergency. Or says there is one. Yes.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm trying to think of a nickname for Irina quickly.
You can literally just call her Irina. It's fine.
Rena.
Yeah.
This is
Eri.
Rena.
Eri, take them to the observatory.
Eri.
Karis is enjoying this as he can.
Okay.
And literally,
So if you want to help
alright,
out,
up.
Get in
yes, you just have to bring them up. Erikos looks around in amazement, in wonderlust. This is beyond anything I've ever seen before. How does it work?
Yeah. Here it spins too.
Yes. Right.
I can see. You're
You
saying
can-
I can see the Riley port from here?
Yes, the telescope has quite an impressive zoom, but
Show me.
Excuse you.
I wish to know they're safe.
Just
That I didn't.
yes.
My family didn't just get attacked the moment I left.
Your family are fine.
I can assure you they did not. We have made sure of that. Karis says, pretending to be much more powerful than he is, but he will make the adjustments.
Okay. So, Karis, you swivel the telescope around. What date did you set?
I mean, it was initially set for because Irina reset it back to the time
Yes,
when
yes.
It was initially before we started messing with it, which was obviously set to this present.
Arrival.
So,
Yeah.
which would be the present time. So, just leave it on that, I think.
Okay.
Or
Um,
yeah,
there is like a lever that seems to be like present.
but
on
we
it.
don't want
What's
our
this?
present. We want his present.
Right. So
Which-
when Irina reset the thing and reverted it back to the present,
No, she
Um,
No,
reverted
we
it back
reset
to
it
the settings
back-
it was on when she first came in, which was when Erikos was arriving.
That's true. It was.
Yeah.
Someone was looking at that point in particular, so that's why she reset it to that particular time.
As if it had never been touched.
Yeah.
right.
Actually, Karis goes, you want to see what happened to your family after you left, correct?
Yes, yeah, he seems to be
That-
peering through it. You can see like he's looking a little bit more relaxed and relieved.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Then Karis will adjust the time on it back. Because the journey from from Rylia to here is a couple of days, right?
Hmm.
So he'll turn it back a couple of days so that he can see literally like half a day after he left at the Rylia port. That makes sense?
okay. Yeah.
And then it's just
He's
like,
looking through.
yeah.
He is relieved, and he's like, "Thank you for showing me this."
Yeah, and and then he'll adjust a few settings just so that he can see it at like half a day after he left, a day after he left, a day and a half sort of thing to prove that nothing happened.
That is a relief. Thank you. How are you doing that? Kind of like picks up from the chair and looks at the dials that you're adjusting to go forwards in time. Marvelous. Wow. I never thought this could even work. So this can see into the future. Is that what you're saying?
Possibly.
Effectively, potentially, up
But
to a
that's
point.
That's a dangerous game to be playing.
But
How so?
Because when Karis is gonna just sort of think, and he's sure he's probably heard this phrase at some point. Once you observe a future, then that future is no longer guaranteed to happen.
Exactly.
The mere observing of it changes it.
Well, then it shouldn't matter what I see, then, right?
But then what you see is pointless.
I wish to see it.
In order to guarantee your family's safety, I wouldn't, just to be safe.
What if you end up changing it to a future that doesn't guarantee their safety? All because you looked through a telescope?
All the more reason to see that if they're not in...
Yeah. I will give you a warning. There's a reason that I am speaking only using this telepathy to you. I looked through this telescope at something I shouldn't, and I was rendered incapable of speech. So how I cast Lightning Bolt earlier will come to later.
That might have been because he was looking at the astral sea.
I was trying to dissuade them from looking at the future, Orish.
Oh, oops. All right.
But yes, fine. If you want to look...
I'm literally going to sit in the seat and just be like, nope.
It's not a good idea.
Yes. Eri, Guardian of the Telescope, has forbidden your access.
Fine. He kind of looks towards the dial. He turns it all the way forward, like spins it into the far future.
Now
as far as it can go.
That's just childish.
And he says, I won't look at it, but perhaps you can tell me.
I believe the same still applies.
Yeah, Karis looks at how far ahead he's managed to sell it to. Like, what sort of time?
I'm going to roll a D100 because he really does span it. He span it 76 years into the future.
I mean, from where he is...
You don't need to see that far ahead.
Yeah, Karis is like...
I can tell you, without looking through the telescope, that your family does make very solid roots at the port. I can tell you that your family flourishes, and you will be very proud.
You were like seers?
No, not quite. No.
That's what Eri's short for. It's short for seer.
Yeah.
It's Serena. Ha! I knew I come up with a nickname.
But I have many, many talents, alright? Let's leave it at that. I do.
Well then, if you're able to see the future, then you shouldn't have any harm in looking. You don't even have to tell me.
I've literally told you all you need to know.
Roll a persuasion check.
Does it help that a majority of us are also trying to argue this point?
Honestly, he's a stubborn bastard. It probably makes him more determined. Nat 20.
Wow. You can tell he really, really wants to. But the way you've kind of worded it, you speak the truth, and he can see this. He does seem to be like a little bit questioning, but you speak with such confidence and such like reassurance because you have seen this. You do know the truth, and all right, I believe you. It's not that I don't trust you.
No, you will not become the person you need to become if you look into the future now.
I don't mistrust you guys. It's the dragons I don't trust.
Yeah.
They've gone back on their word once already. They
Understood.
could do it again.
Also understood, but I can also tell you that they may one day try to once again do something similar, but it will not be for many years, and by that point you will be ready. Your family will be ready.
And Karis is just going to say this, and I will say, say on my honor that should they try such a thing again, I will stop them. Because he knows he will.
I throw the nearest thing I can.
He thinks for a moment and goes, when? How long?
Karis thinks for a moment and just says, however long it takes.
And in that moment, although he doesn't say it aloud, Erikos is inspired to have more children. So that he manages to have several sons. And he makes sure that those sons grow to be powerful sorcerers.
Is this gonna be a thing like? Have you just persuaded him to have you and Zarilius, or are you gonna go back to like more brothers?
Who knows at this point? Well, to be honest, at this point he probably doesn't have that many children. He might have. Actually, I can work this out because he's 21 right now, right? Roughly. So, yes. And when we met, and in the present time, he's 55. So this is 34 years ago. So technically, he has no children yet.
Ooh.
Because the eldest is Narrowly, which is 32.
Right, yeah.
So obviously now he's determined to have children, and obviously it takes him 1, 2, 3, 4 goes before he gets Carius. And his twin sister, but
yeah, true. They come along unexpectedly. Yeah, that's why you've got such a huge family.
And then it's actually interesting that oh no, it's
hey, Erikos, Arish. If you were to look up, try and find a book to do with the sun and moon, what sort of book would you look for?
Or specifically for daybreak and nightfall.
Yeah.
It sounds to do with. Orish says it sounds like you're talking about the firmament, like the transition of stars and the night sky.
Oh no,
sounds cosmological.
Oh no, it's going to be the place between the stars again. I can't escape that place. I swear.
It might be, or it could be about something else.
Wait, if it's the sun and the moon, then
We find a copy of Twilight, don't we?
No.
It's going to be somewhere in between. Would that be the astral plane then?
It could be, but
or space.
Could it also be to do with Helios and Saloon, literally the sun and the moon?
Oh yeah, forgot about those guys.
Though technically we know there were 2 moons, but we don't know what the other moon was called.
Yeah, no, some of it currently resides in our ship.
Yep.
So
my initial thought was like it would be to do with the Morning Lord, because obviously daybreak, and then some god to do with night falling, the Dusk Lord, Dusk Lady.
So do we want to go look at some more books then?
Well, I was looking at one. Yes, Erikos. if you wish to assist us whilst you are resting to prepare for the next stage of your training, you could help us by reading some books to see if you can find any hidden riddles.
You look like a book guy to me.
Not really.
As a
but
merchant, you should be good with books, or at least figures.
several, yes. but
Math is one
sure.
thing.
Yes. Well, obviously, if you're going to be trading, you've obviously got to study languages, so you know the languages of those you're speaking to.
Hmm.
I just.
He seems distant when he's answering these questions, like he's not fully listening to you.
I'm gonna speak to Carrier specifically. I'm like, if he carries on, we're sticking him in the terrarium.
He's definitely, his mind is full of other things right now, of potential futures and such, and he can't
Yeah.
stop taking his eyes off
Yeah.
of the telescope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carius thinks for a moment, and then he's just like, actually, whilst we're thinking potentially on what the next book might be, we could show the others the terrarium, as they've not seen it yet. It might be of interest to one of them. It's essentially, Carius tries to explain this, it's essentially like a world, but in a box, and then you can like enter the box and you're like in the world, but at like scale to the world in it.
But you can also see into the box.
Yeah.
Could do. Kisham will also probably say whilst he's here that, is it worth giving that idea a shot? that you
Oh
said
yeah, the
earlier?
ley line idea. That's a good idea. Yeah, let's try that. So obviously,
Shall I keep my eye out, or does someone else
Yeah.
want to look through?
well, yeah, Karis is like, if we think it appears on the new moon, then let's move it to Carius now focusing on everyone but Erikos in this, because if we set it to our present and then set it to see what the phase of the moon is at the moment, and then we can then move it on days until we get to the new moon, sort of
Right.
thing.
Set it to the present, Kisham says.
Karis
You do
kicks the lever that says present.
Okay, sure. And you revert it back to the present.
Wait, wrong lever! Ah!
Well, funny enough, it does revert to your present. And Kushan is looking through the eyepiece. There's a lot of dark clouds, he says.
Oh yeah,
can't
because
see-
of the perfect storm. Okay, Carius
Can't see
will.
anything.
Yeah, Carius
forward
will.
a little.
Carius will sell it forward, say 5 days. That should be enough time for the storm to pass.
Kushan, his jaw drops for a moment. He slowly gets up.
Carius sort of takes the seat, sort of like looks through.
He doesn't say anything. In fact, Kushan probably walks away, just kind of bracing himself, knowing that he doesn't need to say anything if you're about to sit down and look through. Roll a
Yeah.
perception check, Harry. Harry. The position of the telescope hasn't moved, only the time so far.
Yeah,
And the position was last set on Riley Point,
yeah. Oh no.
where you would see your family's home. There is scorched earth, destroyed buildings. The storm clouds are still just dispersing. You can see the crops have all been burnt away. The family home is crumbled into ruin.
Carius looks for the distinctive marks that would indicate that it was a dragon's breath that did this, sort of thing.
From this altitude and with a 17, you look down towards the ground and you can see long lines of scorch marks and, most notably, fossilized sand, fulgurite, all the way through.
Carius takes a
the
deep
ground.
breath, realizes he can't speak, and then just sort of says, "Right, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go kill a dragon."
What?
Well, we obviously set this to 5 days in the future. My home's not there anymore. It's
But-
been attacked by dragons, by the look of it.
But the dragons left, apart from...
Tilrog and his lot, and a few of the big...
Well, you saw them.
We saw them leave, but we didn't see where they went. Carius is gonna sort of go, I realize looking at the future is dangerous, but Irina, would you mind setting the telescope to about just after when Tilrog and his cronies left the Blue Dragon area? And then Karis is gonna, and then obviously we'll adjust the telescope to look in that sort of direction to see where he's going.
You
That
see a flight of 4 young blue, well, no, they'd be adult blue dragons making their way from the Mirage Mountains. Using the storm clouds as cover, they ascend into the sky, but they are heading in a southeasterly direction.
Carius.
It will take them roughly a day to get there.
Carius looks to Orish. It's like,
Maybe a bit longer.
that stone you have, can that only contact Terrig?
Yeah, yes, it's just a two-way ending stone. But I can ask him if
I need
You
a
need
message.
something-
I need a message sent urgently.
I'm going to
if anyone can buy you time, it's Derek.
Right. I'm going to scry on Tilrog to see where he's at right now.
Okay. I shall roll his wisdom saving throw. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
The
trying to
DC is
think.
19.
Did
Oh.
we?
Currently like 18, I think. But it is still a fail. And I don't know why I rolled black dragon not meant to be good. But it's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't be a D6. You are able to see Tilrog currently. Let's just put this into the. Let's actually go to the map real quick. It'll be the easiest thing to do.
Yep.
Okay. You've flown from Canyon here
Yep.
and got to here. 25 foot. They have flown to Riley Port, which is 75 foot. So basically, it's at least double the journey for them to get here. You've spent half a day traveling there, and then you spent an hour resting, and plenty of hours here. So it's been at least a day and a half being here, which means you would see Tilrog and the other 3 dragons at this very moment descending upon Riley Port amid the lightning storms. The first things that happen is you hear a screech, a call from Griffin Riders as the early alert system. The Griffin Riders descend upon Riley Port, telling everyone to get to safety or get to cover. anywhere but this place right now. And they're basically evacuating everyone in this moment. And you can see this sickly grin spreading over Tilrog's face. And he probably says to the others, "To hell with our clutch. I don't care the consequences. This feud has gone on long enough." And he says to his like two wingmen who are like swooping around behind him, "Kill them all. Leave nothing left but ashes." It is 4 adult dragons, the ones who you fought previously.
Yeah.
It is not the whole clutch of the blue
Yeah,
dragons.
which is better, but it's still nothing that any one person, the only person who could fight against them probably would be Erikos, and he's not even able to handle 4 of them.
Several of them have got like patchy-looking wings where you integrated through them last time, and they're like,
Yeah.
"I'll pay for what I did."
Yeah. Karis is considering something, and he's like, there are 2 ways that this can be changed. I just sort of looks to...
Get Dad to kill the ship.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my plans, but then that would mean that our fight doesn't happen, and that could change more
That's
things.
not necessarily true, because the blue dragons still try to do the perfect storm, with or without Tilrog.
No, but our actual fight with Tilrog wouldn't have happened, which could affect things. Like, we'd changed that event and stuff. The perfect storm attack would still happen, but other stuff might not have. And how he acted afterwards might be different if he'd killed, so... Orish, send a message to Terig. Apologize for it, but this is an emergency.
I shall immediately.
I think
He begins
too
casting
late.
send.
If this place, Karis goes, if this place can exist back in time, if my father is here now and will leave when he left, then that should mean that we could leave before we got here.
Terig, come in. I know you're busy looking at the compass and cloak, but Karis's family is in danger. Port is under attack. Blue dragons. Can you help him? And there is a reply, and I'll say that he allows his speak to.
Yeah.
His sending's going to go like loudspeaker. And he says, "You've seen through the observatory, I take it. It's dangerous looking at the future. Even more dangerous attempting to change it. But you've given me a valuable piece of information about my apprentice. This is indeed an anchor." And he continues to cast sending so that he can keep speaking.
Yeah.
Damn it.
"It will take time to repair as many years as it took to create this to begin with. You may return once it is finished, but in order to ensure my apprentice's safety, I must repair it."
Understood,
As they
but is
think-
there any way you can get us back to Port before they got there so that we can defend it? I realize that might be
I can
messing with
teleport
things.
you, but teleportation has a chance to go awry. There is a slim chance that you end up elsewhere. Mishaps can happen with teleportation, unless, of course, there was a teleportation circle set up.
Karis
There is a more guaranteed method.
And what would that be?
Something I have yet to fully complete, but I think it is ready for a test run.
Oh no.
Whatever it takes. Even if it's just me that goes. I'll stop
Well,
them
you're
one way or
going by
another.
yourself.
The tower has many properties. It involves space and time. I cannot get you there quicker, but I can stop quickness from progressing.
So, you mean you could stop them from moving until we get there?
Correct. I can freeze localized time with the tower. It may only work momentarily. I have yet to be able to extend its power to hold it there indefinitely. It might give you enough time to return home.
Yes. We need to return there. But Karis just sort of looks at himself and thinks on like his actions. It's just like, but would you be able to, I know you don't know for certain, but you think you could hold it for long enough that we will be at our peak strength when we arrive? Because obviously I fought with Mox and
Yeah, I'm pretty
such.
spent as well. I'm quite spent.
Basically I'm asking is, in the time it will take us to get there and him stopping time, does he think we'll have time for a long rest?
It will take at least a day, and more, maybe more, to get there. If you can find a way to rest over the course of a day while traveling, then yes.
Tarek, do you have any means of transportation here that we could use to get there and maybe rest on the way? Carius considering we're in the Clawed Coast, a magic carpet perhaps.
I do not own one of those, but I do have plenty of scrolls that may be of assistance, yes.
Right.
Orish, get the Otluk's, no, Leomon's discs. I think it is. Hold on, floating disc, what is it?
Limits.
It's just a floating disc.
Tensor's floating disc.
Tensors, that's the one. So many wizards.
Yeah.
Collect the scrolls of Tensor's floating disc.
Wait, are you?
Yes, to Tarek, right away. At this point, Orish quickly rushes into the scroll room, comes back with like a big handful of them, and says, "Yeah, these are all Tensor floating discs."
How? And this can get us there in a way that allow us to rest.
The gem on his the stone on the top of his staff appears again and says, "Garrus, don't pretend I did not notice your flying glaive."
Oh wait, are you saying? Carius considers this because obviously he's managed to sleep on his glaive before. I think we did that once. No, Llewellyn slept on the glaive.
Yeah, one of us was tied. Well, I was tied to you.
But
Free sleeping.
essentially, Carius can give the glaive a direction, a point to go to. If he casts, and then Tensor's floating disc follows 20 foot behind, right?
Yeah, and can carry up to 500 pounds.
So
Wow.
if he used multiple of those, you could rest on Tensor's floating discs whilst the glaive is like the point of origin, I guess.
Yeah, he says you might need to take shift. One person flies the glaive, whilst others rest, and then switch. But you should be able to make it.
Right.
Consider it a wagon without wheels.
Yes.
Several of you are in the back, resting whilst one person flies. Has the reins.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other
Oh.
thing would be, I realise teleportation is a bit of an imprecise art, but if you could get our airship here, and we just use that, that would be even more ideal.
Once again, teleportation can go awry.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is the guaranteed method.
Right. We'll do this then.
Meet me in the dimensional horologium.
Okay.
The dimensional horror.
Yep, correct. We're going there.
Finally.
So, yeah, we're gonna wrap up in a minute.
I've got like 5 minutes before I have to hop on.
Same.
Yeah.
We will be wrapping up. We'll just finish on this last little scene. As you come back through the portal, Orish places the lantern in the hand. He has given you all a lantern as well now at this point, so anyone can do this. For the sake of rushing it, he places the lantern down. You see the reddish portal appear. He says, "Quick, everyone in!" And
I
one by
make
one,
sure before we leave the
Yeah, Karis grabs all of his equipment from the library thing.
I'm also going to reset the telescope to the previous setting.
Yeah.
So just in case Carius' dad decides
Yeah,
he wants to try it.
Karis is going to quickly ask, with the telescope, is there a way to lock it so you can't change the time on it?
I could cast an arcane lock. Orish could do that, yeah.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. I don't trust my dad. I mean, I broke the rule instantly. And my dad's at the same impulsive age I am.
Yeah, true.
So,
Okay.
I just make a handwritten note that literally says, "I'm watching you," and I stick it.
Also, can he bring the compass back just in case we need it to get back here?
Well, we're going to go meet him, so
Yeah, you're
potentially.
gonna go meet Eric.
Yeah.
Each of you has to place a little slip inside the chest. As it does, you can hear like a rattling sound, and then it pops open, and you're all able to get your gear one by one. And then stepping through this portal, it takes you to the dimensional horologium, where you should see you come out of a reddish portal in the corner, immediately closes up behind you.
Oh, this is fancy. I like this.
This is
Standing atop this cog apparatus, this tower of gears and rotation, it's mind-boggling to witness. There's colors of all different types. Clock faces on each side kind of make you think that you're sitting or standing inside a clock tower. And for those who've seen it, like Llewellyn, there's some Tesseract vibes here as well, in the way that it's a square-shaped chamber with four sides that seem to almost reflect one another. The time in this room seems to be going at all different paces. One clock's like spinning whilst one is like ticking regularly, and another one's going backward. Eric turns to you all. You see his like robes aflutter as he's holding the staff. His sand swirling around him. Right. This will be an experiment, but one I have prepared for extensively. He says, "Come, stand," and he kind of levitates you all up. Not you, Orish. Get back down there. Oh, sorry.
I mean, if Orish wants to come with us to help.
I will need Orish in assisting me with this.
Oh, okay. What about that goblin assassin guy? Can he come with us?
I have already notified them.
Oh, cool.
And sure enough, in fact, where the heck are they? Quickly grab the tokens, but yes, Mox shows himself. Where is he?
Hey.
There he is. And also, the small goblin does appear, and they arrive at the same time.
If
Mox,
Karish just looks at Mox for a moment. If you can turn into me, can you now do the thing that I learned to do from Terrig?
which was?
The ability to, like, take lightning and throw it back at people.
Huh.
You know, like, the thing you walked a mile in my shoes to help me learn, and then I went to Terrig and learned.
I would have to try. But yes, I believe I could master it. Elemental adept is the hardest thing in the world. Sounds like he's confident.
Yep. Okay, in which case, if I mean, are you coming with us or are you helping Tereg?
I am assisting in this. I know exactly what he's attempting to do. All the wizards have been preparing for this.
Yeah.
Come,
Yeah.
This
Carry
is
us.
exactly what. This is what the tower was meant for. You can call this a test run.
Yeah. Carrius pauses for a moment and it's like, then I guess, in a way, I'm going to owe you one for this working. So, the next book you want to look at is The Plane of Earth.
Finally, I've been stuck on that one for days.
I mean, but weren't you stuck on the one before it for days?
That one as well, yeah.
I also solved the one in The Plane of Earth, but that one's really easy, so if you don't get it, I will be disappointed in you.
He says, all right, I'll work on it. Next time you see me, I'll have cracked it.
You better do.
Tereg, how will we find our way back?
He looks down at you and says, the compass.
Yeah.
He pulls it out and mage hands it towards you.
Yeah.
I've studied its schematics, but I do believe I'll have to make more of them in the future.
Yeah, you will.
How
Alright.
long will it take you to fix those robes?
That too.
He turns to you and says, years, young apprentice.
Is there
Yeah.
no way to speed up the process?
I will do as I can, without
Okay, well,
time manipulation.
well
Or if I do
okay.
that, it would potentially break the anchor enchantment on it.
Right, but is there anything I can do to help?
Have you ever heard of the phrase, too many cooks spoil the broth? I'm afraid only one wizard of my level can work on this. If a single mistake were to be made, well, I fear for Malone's existence, not just life.
Ready fear for that? But alright.
Right, the 6 of us will be on our way.
With the ropes.
Rest assured, Irina, Malone is as important to me as she is to you. I will do everything in my power to make sure this is made right.
Just gonna point out, I've not met you yet, but alright.
Okay, well, apparently I've learned a lot about you.
I don't know you!
We
He
did
knows-
mention yeah a few times.
Yeah, last time I think when you weren't here, he
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
say that you're Malone's apprentice. So
We did
I
say
did
that.
tell
Yeah.
you. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up here, but not before Tereg, not Orish, and Jit begin an incredibly powerful ritual spell that does take a good 10 minutes to complete, but during which you see all the clocks beginning to align and finally freeze up. All the gears have reached this crescendo of rattling and turning, and then they all kind of lock up. All the glows, all the colors blur together, becoming like this white light that kind of sears the backs of your eyes. But in doing so, you see all of the casters kind of freeze in motion, and the tower seems completely still. You see dust particles in the air. You see the sand that was swirling around Tereg frozen in time. And it's almost as if this pulse is emanated from it. Except it doesn't affect you guys. You look around at yourselves. You're completely unaffected by the spell, standing here on this platform that seems to be like the eye of the storm. And that is where we will end tonight's session. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, they can make it back in time before
Yeah.
it is too late.
Yep.
All right.
And don't forget to join us Sunday for the Witch Hunters.
Yes, Witch Hunters is back on Sunday.
And,
Tune in then.
Yep, and then next week we'll be back.
Cool. Alrighty. See you then, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.